Prepare yourself for heart-pounding stories of survival. When these terrifying bear attacks happened, people's lives were at risk. Watch how the victims faced these fearsome bears and the incredible ways they saved themselves. From sheer terror to amazing escapes, these stories show true human bravery. So join us in this video as we dive into 6 amazing and exciting stories of bear attacks. It was July 14th, 2022, in the remote wilderness of Alaska. The sun was shining brightly, casting a golden hue over the vast landscape. The air was fresh, and the rivers were teeming with salmon. This serene environment was the perfect backdrop for a group of friends who had known each other for years. Kevin McAllister, a seasoned fisherman and outdoor enthusiast, had always dreamed of exploring Alaska's pristine rivers. He had been planning this trip for months, and finally decided to invite his closest friends. Kevin lived in Anchorage and often hosted gatherings at his cozy cabin. On July 10th, he invited his friends over for a delicious dinner to discuss the fishing trip. Kevin's cabin was nestled among tall pine trees, with a breathtaking view of the mountains. That evening, the aroma of grilled salmon, Kevin's specialty, filled the air. He had prepared dishes to cater to everyone's taste: barbecue ribs for Joe, a hearty stew for Sam, and a vegetarian lasagna for Mike. The friends gathered around the large wooden table on Kevin's deck, laughing and reminiscing about their past adventures. They remembered their camping trip to the Rockies and felt ready for Alaska. Sam, who had a knack for storytelling, entertained the group with tales of their fishing escapades. He declared that this time they would catch the biggest salmon Alaska had to offer. Mike, the most reserved of the group, smiled and nodded. He had always been the quiet supporter, the one who ensured everyone was safe and prepared. He had brought maps and a first aid kit, ready for any challenge they might face. After dinner, they sat by the fire pit, planning the details of their journey. Kevin outlined the itinerary: a week-long trip to a remote spot he had scouted earlier in the year. They would leave Anchorage on July 12th and drive to a secluded area near the Kenai River. From there, they would hike to their campsite, a perfect spot for fishing. On the morning of July 12th, the group gathered their gear and set off on their adventure. The drive to the Kenai River was filled with excitement and anticipation. They passed through lush forests, crossed sparkling streams, and finally arrived at their destination. The hike to the campsite was challenging, but the breathtaking scenery made it worthwhile. By the time they set up camp, it was late afternoon. They pitched their tents near the river, with the sound of rushing water providing a soothing backdrop. Kevin demonstrated how to set up the fishing rods and prepare the bait. Joe and Sam eagerly joined in, while Mike set up a small cooking area for their meals. For the first 2 days, everything went smoothly. The group enjoyed the tranquility of the wilderness, the thrill of catching salmon, and the camaraderie that came with shared adventures. Kevin taught Joe and Sam some advanced fishing techniques, while Mike took charge of preparing the freshly caught fish for dinner. They roasted the fish over an open fire, savoring the simple yet delicious meals. On the 3rd day, as they were gutting fish by the riverside, Kevin noticed something unusual. A large grizzly bear was watching them from the edge of the trees. At first, he thought it was just passing by, but the bear seemed to be drawn by the scent of fish. Kevin's heart raced as he realized the danger they were in. He signaled to his friends to stay calm and slowly back away. The bear, however, had other plans. It began to approach them aggressively, its eyes fixed on the fish. Despite their attempts to scare it away by shouting and waving their arms, the bear continued to advance. In a matter of seconds, the situation escalated into a life-threatening encounter. The grizzly bear moved closer, its massive frame looming over the fishermen. Kevin, Joe, Sam, and Mike felt a surge of fear as the bear let out a deep, menacing growl. Kevin quickly grabbed the flare gun from their emergency kit, knowing it was their best chance to scare the bear away. Despite their efforts to keep calm, the bear's aggressive approach made it clear that it wasn't going to leave without a fight. Kevin fired the flare gun into the air, hoping the bright light and loud noise would startle the bear. For a moment, it hesitated, but then it continued its advance, undeterred by the flare. Joe, trying to protect the group, swung a fishing rod at the bear, but it swiped at him with its powerful paw, knocking him to the ground. He screamed in pain as the bear's claws tore into his leg. Sam and Mike rushed to help, pulling Joe away from the bear and trying to shield him with their bodies. Kevin fired another flare, this time aiming it closer to the bear. The bright flash and loud bang finally caused the bear to retreat, but not before it had inflicted serious injuries on Joe. The bear disappeared into the woods, leaving the group shaken and in shock. Mike immediately took charge of the situation, using the first aid kit to tend to Joe's wounds. He cleaned and bandaged the deep gashes on Joe's leg, doing his best to stop the bleeding. Kevin used their emergency radio to call for help. his voice trembling as he relayed their location and the severity of Joe's injuries. As they waited for rescue, the group huddled together, trying to keep Joe warm and comfort him. The sun was beginning to set, casting long shadows across the campsite. The air grew colder, and the sounds of the wilderness seemed more ominous in the fading light. After what felt like an eternity, they heard the distant sound of a helicopter. Relief washed over them as they saw the search and rescue team approaching. The helicopter landed nearby, and paramedics quickly assessed Joe's condition. They placed him on a stretcher and carefully loaded him into the helicopter. Kevin, Sam, and Mike watched as the helicopter took off, taking Joe to the nearest hospital for emergency treatment. They were left alone at the campsite, the weight of the day's events pressing down on them. They decided to pack up their gear and head back to civilization. Their week-long fishing trip was cut short by the harrowing encounter. The drive back to Anchorage was silent, and each man was lost in his thoughts. They were grateful that Joe had survived the attack, but the experience had shaken them deeply. Once back in the city, they visited Joe in the hospital. He was recovering, but the doctors told him it would be a long road to full recovery. In the days that followed, the friends reflected on their adventures. The trip had not gone as planned, but it had brought them closer together. They realized the importance of being prepared and the power of their friendship in overcoming such a terrifying ordeal. Kevin, Sam, and Mike returned to their daily lives, each carrying the memory of the encounter with them. Joe's recovery was slow, but he eventually regained his strength. The friends continued to support him, sharing the story of their survival with others as a reminder of the dangers of the wilderness and the strength of their bond. The grizzly bear was never seen again, but the memory of that fateful day remained etched in their minds. The group had faced one of nature's most formidable predators and lived to tell the tale, a testament to their resilience and friendship. Chris Thompson, known for his love of the great outdoors, had always been drawn to the rugged beauty of Montana. An experienced outdoorsman, Chris had spent years honing his skills in survival and navigation. On August 22, 2023, he set off on a solo backpacking trip through the dense forests near Glacier National Park. This trip was meant to be a test of his skills and a chance to connect with nature on a deeper level. Born and raised in Bozeman, Montana, Chris grew up surrounded by wilderness. His father, a former park ranger, instilled in him a profound respect for nature and the creatures that inhabit it. From a young age, Chris learned to track animals, identify plants, and navigate the often treacherous terrain of the Montana backcountry. These skills became second nature to him, and he spent every available moment exploring the outdoors. In preparation for his latest adventure, Chris meticulously planned his route, packed essential gear, and stocked up on supplies. He chose a secluded area known for its pristine beauty and challenging trails. The solitude of the forest promised a peaceful escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. On the first day, Chris hiked deep into the forest, marveling at the towering pines and the distant calls of wildlife. He set up camp near a small creek, where the sound of flowing water provided a soothing backdrop. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Chris cooked a simple meal over his portable stove and settled in for the night, feeling at peace with the world. The second day brought more exploration and the thrill of discovery. Chris followed a narrow trail that wound through the forest, spotting deer and birds along the way. By evening, he found another ideal camping spot, this time near a thicket of bushes that promised shelter from the wind. Exhausted from the day's trek, he prepared his dinner close to his tent, unaware of the danger lurking nearby. As night fell, the forest around him seemed to come alive with sounds. Chris enjoyed the symphony of crickets and the occasional hoot of an owl, feeling a sense of accomplishment for having successfully navigated another day. Little did he know, his decision to cook dinner close to his tent had attracted the attention of a nearby bear. The bear, drawn by the scent of food, approached silently through the trees. Chris, blissfully unaware, had already fallen asleep inside his tent. The calm of the night was shattered when the bear tore into his tent, its powerful claws ripping through the fabric. Chris woke up to a nightmare, the massive creature looming over him. In a desperate attempt to defend himself, Chris reached for his knife and fought back with all his might. The struggle was fierce, and Chris sustained severe injuries as the bear attacked. Bloodied and barely conscious, he managed to reach his satellite phone. With trembling hands, he sent an SOS signal, hoping against hope that help would arrive in time. The forest, once a place of solace, had become a battleground. Chris's training and instincts kicked in as he tried to stay conscious, knowing that rescue could take hours. He fought to keep his eyes open, the pain overwhelming his senses. The signal he sent out was his lifeline, a desperate plea for survival in the unforgiving wilderness. Chris lay in his torn tent, his strength fading. The night seemed endless, and he struggled to stay awake. Every breath was painful, but he knew he had to hang on. The SOS signal he sent out was his only hope. He clung to the thought of rescue, his mind drifting in and out of consciousness. Hours passed before the distant thump of helicopter blades broke the silence. A search and rescue team, alerted by Chris's SOS, had begun their mission. They scanned the forest from above, looking for any sign of Chris. The dense canopy made the search difficult, but the team was determined. On the ground, rescuers followed the GPS coordinates from Chris's signal. They moved quickly but carefully, knowing time was critical. When they finally reached Chris's campsite, the sight that greeted them was grim. Chris was barely alive, his tent shredded and his body covered in wounds. The team worked swiftly, administering first aid and stabilizing Chris for transport. They lifted him onto a stretcher and carried him to the waiting helicopter. As the helicopter ascended, Chris's eyes fluttered open briefly. He saw the concerned faces of his rescuers and felt a glimmer of hope. At the hospital, doctors fought to save Chris's life. His injuries were severe and the battle for survival continued. Family and friends gathered, praying for his recovery. The ordeal had left Chris physically and emotionally scarred, but he was alive. Chris's experience served as a stark reminder of the dangers of solo adventures in bear country. The importance of proper food storage and safety measures became evident. His story highlighted the thin line between adventure and disaster in the wild. In the days that followed, questions arose. How could such an experienced outdoorsman make such a mistake? What could have been done differently? These questions lingered in the minds of those who knew Chris and those who heard his story. Chris's recovery was slow, but he remained resilient. He shared his experience to raise awareness about the risks of solo trips and the importance of preparedness. His tale was a cautionary one, urging others to learn from his mistakes. As Chris healed, he reflected on his journey. The wilderness, once his sanctuary, had turned into a place of danger. Yet it also showed him the strength of the human spirit and the importance of community and support. His story was one of survival, courage, and the enduring will to live. John Thompson, an avid hiker and nature enthusiast, had long dreamed of taking his family to Yosemite National Park. He had spent years exploring the great outdoors, and he wanted to share the beauty and serenity of nature with his loved ones. On June 10th, 2023, John finally saw his dream come true as he packed up his gear and set off with his family from their home in Sacramento, California. John had planned this trip meticulously. He had recently taken a leave of absence from his demanding job to spend more quality time with his family. This vacation was the perfect opportunity for them to reconnect and create lasting memories. His wife, Emily, a passionate photographer, was just as excited as John. Their children, Sarah and Ben, had grown up hearing their father's tales of the wilderness, and now they were eager to experience it for themselves. The drive to Yosemite was filled with anticipation and excitement. The family arrived at the park's entrance, where they checked in at the visitor center and gathered maps and information about the best trails and campsites. John had planned an itinerary that included all the iconic sites: Half Dome, El Capitan, and Yosemite Falls. On the first day, they hiked through Mariposa Grove, marveling at the ancient giant sequoias. Emily captured every moment with her camera, creating a visual diary of their adventure. Sarah and Ben, full of energy, explored every nook and cranny of the grove, their laughter echoing through the trees. The second day brought them to the Merced River, where they enjoyed a peaceful picnic and watched the water flow gently by. By the third day, the family had settled into the rhythm of their adventure. They set up camp in a secluded area near Tuolumne Meadows, a place John had chosen for its beauty and tranquility. The site was perfect, surrounded by towering pines and with a clear view of the starry night sky. As the sun began to set, John built a campfire and the family gathered around it. John showed Sarah and Ben how to roast marshmallows, teaching them the perfect technique to get that golden brown crust. The sweet scent of the roasting marshmallows filled the air, mixing with the fresh, pine-scented breeze. They laughed and shared stories, enjoying the simple pleasure of being together in the wilderness. Unbeknownst to them, the aroma of their campfire treats had attracted a black bear. The bear, drawn by the scent of food, had been lurking nearby, watching the family from the shadows. As the night grew darker, the bear became bolder, edging closer to the campsite. Suddenly, the bear lunged towards Ben, the youngest member of the family. John, reacting instinctively, jumped between his son and the bear. The bear swiped at John, its powerful claws tearing into his flesh. Emily, quick to react, grabbed the bear spray they had brought as a precaution and aimed it at the bear. The spray hit its mark, and the bear recoiled, temporarily blinded and disoriented. Emily grabbed Sarah and Ben and ran towards the ranger station, urging John to follow. Despite his injuries, John managed to stagger to his feet and join his family. They moved as quickly as they could, driven by fear and adrenaline. Upon reaching the ranger station, the staff acted swiftly. They administered first aid to John and called for an ambulance. John was transported to the nearest hospital where doctors treated his wounds. The incident left the family shaken but grateful for their quick thinking and preparedness. The experience was a stark reminder of the dangers of attracting wildlife in bear country. The importance of proper food storage and wildlife safety was a lesson the Thompson family would never forget. Their adventure, though marred by the encounter, brought them closer together and underscored the importance of respecting nature. The Thompson family waited anxiously in the hospital as doctors worked to stabilize John's condition. Emily held Sarah and Ben close, reassuring them that their father would be okay. The medical team, aware of the urgency, moved quickly to treat John's injuries. The deep gashes on his arms and chest required immediate attention, and they administered pain relief and cleaned the wounds. As John lay in the hospital bed, memories of the attack flashed through his mind. He had acted on instinct to protect his son, and now he faced the physical consequences of that brave decision. The doctors informed Emily that John's recovery would take time, but they were optimistic about his overall prognosis. The next day, park rangers visited the hospital to check on John's condition and gather details about the bear encounter. They commended the family for their quick thinking and proper use of bear spray, which likely saved John from more severe injuries. The rangers emphasized the importance of food storage and offered additional tips for future trips. Back at their campsite, the rangers conducted a thorough investigation. They found evidence of the bear's presence, including paw prints and scattered belongings. The bear had been drawn to the camp by the scent of food, a common issue in bear country. The rangers reminded all visitors to store food in bear-proof containers and maintain a safe distance from wildlife. After a few days, John was discharged from the hospital. The family returned home to Sacramento, where John continued his recovery. The experience had left a profound impact on each member of the Thompson family. They had faced a terrifying situation together and emerged stronger for it. As John recuperated, Emily documented their journey, turning her photos and notes into a cautionary tale about the dangers of wildlife encounters. She shared their story with friends and community groups, hoping to raise awareness about the importance of safety in the wilderness. The family received an outpouring of support from their community, which helped them through this challenging time. John's injuries gradually healed, but the memories of that night in Yosemite remained vivid. He often reflected on the moment he placed himself between the bear and his son, realizing the true extent of his love and protectiveness for his family. The encounter had tested his skills as an outdoorsman and his strength as a father. The Thompson family continued to enjoy outdoor adventures, but they approached each trip with a heightened sense of caution. They invested in better equipment, including bear-proof food containers and additional safety gear. John taught Sarah and Ben more about wildlife behavior and how to stay safe in the wilderness. Months later, the family returned to Yosemite, determined not to let fear overshadow their love for nature. They revisited some of the same trails, this time with a deeper respect for the environment and its inhabitants. The beauty of the park was unchanged, and the experience reinforced their bond and appreciation for each other. The Thompson family's story served as a powerful reminder of the unpredictability of nature and the importance of preparedness. Their ordeal highlighted the need for awareness and respect when venturing into the wild. The lessons they learned were invaluable, ensuring that future trips would be safer and more enjoyable. As they hiked through Yosemite, they carried with them not just the scars of a past encounter, but also the resilience and unity that had helped them overcome it. The wilderness, with all its wonders and dangers, remained a place of adventure and discovery for the Thompson family. And through it all, they held on to the understanding that, together, they could face any challenge that came their way. On July 22, 2023, a group of seasoned climbers embarked on a daring expedition to conquer one of the most challenging peaks in the Rocky Mountains. The team was led by Alex Carter, a renowned mountaineer with numerous successful climbs under his belt. Joining him were Emma, a skilled navigator and geologist, Liam, a medical professional with experience in high-altitude medicine, and Jake, a passionate climber who had recently completed a series of climbs in the Andes. Each member brought unique expertise to the group, making them a formidable team. The climbers had meticulously planned their ascent, ensuring they had all the necessary gear and provisions. They had trained rigorously for months, honing their skills and preparing for any potential challenges. Their goal was to reach the summit of Mount Cathedral, a towering peak known for its treacherous terrain and unpredictable weather. The climb was not only a test of their physical endurance, but also a testament to their teamwork and resilience. The team set up base camp near the foot of Mount Cathedral, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of the Rocky Mountains. The air was crisp and the skies clear, providing perfect conditions for their climb. The first few days were filled with the excitement of the ascent as they navigated rocky paths and icy slopes, gradually making their way to the summit. Each step brought them closer to their goal, fueled by determination and a shared love for the mountains. Reaching the summit was a moment of triumph. The climbers stood at the peak, taking in the panoramic views and celebrating their achievement. They spent some time documenting their success with photographs and notes before beginning their descent. The journey down was always the most challenging part, requiring careful navigation and constant vigilance. As they descended, the team encountered a grizzly bear blocking their path. The bear, likely startled by the sudden appearance of humans, felt threatened and cornered. The climbers knew the risks of such an encounter and had come prepared with bear spray and noisemakers. Despite their precautions, the bear's aggressive stance indicated an imminent threat. The bear lunged at Jake, who was closest to the animal. The attack was swift, and Jake was knocked to the ground, sustaining severe injuries. Alex, Emma, and Liam immediately sprang into action, using their bear spray and making loud noises to scare the bear away. The bear, disoriented by the spray and the commotion, eventually retreated into the wilderness. With the immediate danger gone, the team focused on stabilizing Jake. Liam's medical training proved invaluable as he quickly assessed Jake's injuries and provided first aid. Alex and Emma assisted, ensuring Jake was as comfortable as possible while they prepared for evacuation. The group used their satellite phone to call for a helicopter rescue, their voices calm and composed despite the urgency of the situation. The climbers waited, their attention fixed on Jake's condition and the arrival of the rescue team. The harsh reality of their environment was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of wildlife encounters in the wilderness. Their training and preparedness had saved Jake's life, but the experience left them with a deep respect for the power and unpredictability of nature. The team watched the sky, anxiously waiting for the sound of the rescue helicopter. The Rocky Mountains, usually a place of beauty and adventure, now felt like a scene of danger and urgency. As the minutes ticked by, the climbers focused on keeping Jake stable and comfortable. Liam monitored his breathing and vital signs, while Alex and Emma kept a lookout for any signs of the bear returning. After what felt like an eternity, the distant sound of helicopter blades cut through the silence. The rescue team had arrived, their bright lights piercing the twilight. The helicopter hovered overhead before finding a suitable landing spot. Medics rushed out, carrying a stretcher and medical supplies. The medics quickly assessed Jake's condition, their faces serious but focused. They praised the team for their quick actions and the use of bear spray, which had likely prevented a more tragic outcome. Carefully, they transferred Jake onto the stretcher, securing him for the flight to the nearest hospital. The helicopter's blades whipped up a cloud of dust and debris as it lifted off, carrying Jake to safety. The remaining climbers packed up their gear, their hearts heavy but relieved that Jake was in good hands. The incident had brought a sudden and harsh end to their expedition, but their primary concern was Jake's well-being. They made their way back to base camp, their steps slower and more deliberate than before. Back at base camp, the team contacted Jake's family, informing them of the incident and his condition. They also reached out to their climbing community, sharing the lessons they had learned from the encounter. The support they received was overwhelming, a testament to the tight-knit nature of the climbing world. In the days that followed, the climbers returned to their homes, each grappling with the events that had unfolded. News from the hospital brought relief. Jake's injuries, though severe, were not life-threatening. He required surgery and a lengthy recovery, but the doctors were optimistic about his prognosis. As Jake began his journey to recovery, the team reflected on their experience. The encounter with the grizzly bear had underscored the unpredictability of nature and the importance of being prepared for any situation. They reviewed their safety protocols, making plans to enhance their gear and training for future expeditions. The climbers continued to support Jake throughout his recovery, visiting him in the hospital and helping with his rehabilitation. The ordeal had strengthened the bond they shared, and their respect for the wilderness had deepened. They knew that their love for climbing would bring them back to the mountains, but with a renewed commitment to safety and preparedness. Months later, once Jake had made significant progress in his recovery, the team reunited to discuss their next adventure. The mountains still called to them, a place of beauty, challenge, and discovery. With careful planning and a heightened awareness of the risks, they felt ready to face new peaks. The memory of their encounter with the bear will always be with them, a powerful reminder of the delicate balance between humans and wildlife. The experience had not only tested their skills and courage, but also taught them invaluable lessons about the wild places they loved. Together, they looked forward to future climbs, carrying with them the knowledge and respect that had been forged in the Rocky Mountains. Megan Lawrence, a fearless and adventurous hiker, had always been captivated by the rugged beauty of the Pacific Northwest. Born and raised in Seattle, Washington, she spent her weekends exploring the vast network of trails that crisscrossed the region. Her passion for hiking had taken her to some of the most remote and challenging terrains, always seeking the thrill of discovery and the serenity of nature. On February 18th, 2023, Megan set out to explore a remote trail in the dense forests of Washington state. This particular trail, known for its breathtaking views and diverse wildlife, had been on her list for months. Megan meticulously prepared for the journey, packing her backpack with essential gear including a map, compass, bear spray, and an emergency beacon. Confident in her skills and experience, she was eager to immerse herself in the wilderness. The trail started clearly marked, guiding Megan through a picturesque landscape of towering trees and lush undergrowth. She marveled at the tranquility of the forest, the only sounds being the rustling of leaves and the distant call of birds. As she ventured deeper into the woods, the path became less defined, and Megan found herself relying more on her navigation skills. Hours passed, and she realized she had strayed off the marked trail. Determined to find her way back, Megan retraced her steps, but the dense forest made it difficult to recognize landmarks. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor. It was then that she encountered a large black bear scavenging for food among the fallen leaves and underbrush. The bear, sensing Megan's presence, turned and fixed its gaze on her. Feeling threatened, the bear charged towards Megan. She instinctively reached for her bear spray, aiming it at the approaching animal. The spray momentarily halted the bear, but its aggression was undeterred. The bear swiped at her, causing deep gashes on her arm and leg. Megan screamed in pain, but managed to keep her composure, knowing that panic could worsen the situation. Desperate to escape, Megan spotted a nearby tree with low branches. Summoning all her strength, she climbed the tree, her injured limbs protesting with every movement. The bear clawed at the base of the tree, growling in frustration. Megan, perched precariously on a branch, fumbled for her emergency beacon. She activated it, sending a distress signal that she hoped would reach rescuers in time. The hours that followed were excruciating. Megan clung to the tree, her injuries throbbing and her body growing weaker. The bear eventually lost interest and wandered away, but Megan knew she couldn't descend until help arrived. The forest, once a place of solace, now felt like a hostile environment. Finally, the helicopter arrived, breaking the quiet. A search and rescue team, following Megan's signal, came to her. They gently helped her down from the tree and gave her first aid right away. Megan was badly hurt, but alive. They took her to the nearest hospital where doctors treated her injuries and watched over her condition. Megan lay in the hospital bed, her body wrapped in bandages. The doctors worked diligently to treat her injuries, cleaning and stitching the deep wounds. The medical staff were impressed by her resilience and calmness during the ordeal. Megan's family and friends visited frequently, offering their support and encouragement as she began her recovery journey. The rescue team had acted swiftly and professionally. They had found Megan just in time, thanks to her emergency beacon. The forest had been dense and challenging to navigate, but the team's expertise ensured Megan's safe extraction. The memory of the bear attack lingered in Megan's mind, a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of the wilderness. As the days passed, Megan's strength slowly returned. Physical therapy sessions helped her regain mobility, and the nurses praised her determination. Megan's experience had taught her valuable lessons about the importance of preparation and respect for wildlife. She knew that her love for hiking had not diminished, but her approach to it had changed. Megan spent her recovery time educating herself further about bear behavior and safety measures. She wanted to ensure that she and others could enjoy the beauty of nature without unnecessary risks. Her story became a powerful reminder to fellow hikers about the importance of carrying bear spray, emergency beacons, and knowing how to react in unexpected encounters with wildlife. Her friends in the hiking community rallied around her, sharing tips and experiences to help Megan feel confident about returning to the trails. They organized meetings where they discussed safety protocols and shared stories of their own encounters with wildlife. Megan appreciated their support and felt a renewed sense of camaraderie. Months later, Megan felt ready to hike again. She chose a well-known trail with clear markings and a steady flow of hikers. Her friends accompanied her, ensuring she felt safe and supported. The hike was a success, and Megan felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The fear and trauma from her bear encounter had not vanished, but they had been tempered by her preparedness and the support of her community. Megan's ordeal was a testament to her resilience and the importance of being prepared for the unexpected. Her story served as a lesson to all adventurers about the unpredictable nature of the wild. She continued to hike and explore, but with a new perspective and a deeper respect for the power of nature. As Megan looked back on her experience, she felt grateful for the skills and knowledge that had saved her life. The bear attack had been a frightening ordeal, but it had also been a catalyst for growth and learning. Megan's journey through recovery and back to the trails was a reminder that with preparation and the right mindset, even the most daunting challenges could be overcome. The dense forests of Washington state remained a place of beauty and adventure for Megan. She carried with her the lessons learned from her encounter, ensuring that every hike was approached with caution and respect. Megan's story of survival and resilience continued to inspire others, reminding them of the importance of being prepared and staying vigilant in the wild. Dr. Rachel Simmons, a seasoned biologist with a passion for wildlife, had always been fascinated by bears. Her journey into the field of animal behavior began during her graduate studies, where she conducted extensive research on predator-prey dynamics. Now, as the lead researcher of a team studying bear populations in Canada, Rachel's expertise and dedication had brought her to the dense forests of British Columbia. Rachel's team consisted of 4 other biologists: Mark, a field specialist with years of experience tracking wildlife; Linda, an expert in data analysis and population dynamics; David, a veterinarian with a focus on large mammals; and Hannah, a recent graduate eager to gain hands-on experience. Together, they aimed to gather valuable insights into bear behavior and the impacts of human activities on their habitats. On August 15, 2023, the team set up their research base deep in the heart of the forest. The location was chosen for its high bear activity, providing an ideal setting for their study. They established their campsite near a small clearing, surrounded by towering trees and thick underbrush. The days were spent tracking bears, collecting samples, and recording data. Each evening, they gathered around the campfire to discuss their findings and plan the next day's activities. One particular bear, tagged earlier in the summer, had become a focal point of their study. The bear, a large male, exhibited intriguing patterns of behavior that the team was eager to understand. They monitored its movements using a combination of GPS tracking and direct observation. The data they collected promised to shed light on the bear's interactions with its environment and other bears in the area. As the sun set on their 3rd day in the field, the team gathered around their campsite, laptops open and notes scattered. The forest around them was alive with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, a symphony of nature that both comforted and reminded them of the wildness that surrounded them. Rachel, deeply engrossed in her data, noticed a sudden shift in the atmosphere. The previously tagged bear, agitated by the human presence, emerged from the shadows. The team quickly realized the danger as the bear approached, its agitation evident in its movements. Without warning, the bear lunged at David, the nearest researcher. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving David with severe injuries. Rachel and the others sprang into action. Linda grabbed the bear spray while Mark and Hannah used noisemakers to drive the bear away. The bear, disoriented by the commotion and the spray, eventually retreated into the forest. With the immediate threat gone, the team turned their attention to David, who was in considerable pain and losing blood. Hannah, who had basic medical training, quickly administered first aid. She applied pressure to the wounds and worked to stabilize David as much as possible. Rachel used their radio to call for an emergency evacuation, her voice steady despite the urgency of the situation. They knew that help would take time to arrive, and every moment was crucial for David's survival. As the radio call for help echoed through the forest, the team continued to care for David, who was in critical condition. Rachel monitored his breathing and vital signs while Hannah kept pressure on his wounds to control the bleeding. Mark and Linda kept watch, ensuring the bear did not return. The forest, usually so full of life and wonder, now seemed ominous and foreboding. Time passed slowly as they awaited the arrival of the rescue team. The night was dark and filled with the sounds of distant wildlife, a stark reminder of the dangers that lurked in the wilderness. The team's training and experience were put to the test as they worked together to keep David stable. Rachel reassured the team, reminding them of their training and the importance of staying calm under pressure. Finally, The sound of helicopter blades broke the silence. The rescue team had arrived, their lights cutting through the darkness. Medics quickly assessed David's condition and prepared him for transport. Rachel provided the medics with a detailed account of the attack and the first aid measures they had taken. The medics commended the team for their quick actions, which had undoubtedly saved David's life. As the helicopter lifted off, carrying David to the nearest hospital, the remaining team members were left to pack up their campsite. The once promising research mission had taken a devastating turn, but their primary concern now was the well-being of their colleague. They worked silently, each lost in their thoughts about the night's events. The next few days were a blur of travel and concern as the team returned to their base and waited for updates on David's condition. When the news finally came, it was a mix of relief and sobering reality. David had survived the attack, but would require extensive surgery and a long recovery period. The team felt a profound sense of gratitude for his survival and a deep respect for the unpredictable power of nature. This experience profoundly impacted each team member. Rachel, Mark, Linda, and Hannah reflected on the delicate balance between humans and wildlife. Their encounter with the bear underscored the importance of respecting animal behavior and the dangers inherent in their research. They realized the need for even greater caution and preparedness in future fieldwork. The team continued their research, but with heightened awareness and improved safety protocols. Rachel wrote a detailed report on the incident, highlighting the importance of understanding animal behavior and the risks associated with close encounters. David's recovery was slow but steady. His experience left him with a renewed respect for the animals he studied and a determination to advocate for better safety measures in wildlife research. The bond among the team members grew stronger, forged by the shared ordeal and their commitment to their work. The forest, with all its beauty and danger, remained a place of fascination and study for the team. They approached their work with a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that their research could help protect both humans and wildlife. The memory of the night they faced a bear's fury would stay with them, a powerful reminder of the risks and rewards of their chosen field.